welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and this is the player ratings video for Everton's final friendly of the pre-season. Obviously the grand opening for the Hill Dickinson Stadium, playing against Roma. Obviously co-owned by the Friedkin Group, and yeah, they ended in a 1-0 defeat, and again, things aren't, the general mood isn't quite high after a pre-season without a single win to our name, but I actually thought there were quite a few positives to be taken from the game, to be honest. I think especially in the first half. I really liked what we were seeing. I think we have a very clear setup now, and with a few tweaks from last season, I think, and definitely still I think there needs to be some changes to the personnel for this to really work and for it to really take off. But um, I think we're very close to being there, and obviously. I think the side that played yesterday is pretty much as full strength as we have. And if we're not going to make any additions before we play Leeds next week, then I'm pretty sure it'll be a very similar team that started against Roma, then played against Leeds, of course, with the obvious exception of Mikalenko, you'd imagine. Who went off injured very early on. Um, and Adam Asner was basically given the full 90 almost. For first chance to have a proper look at him. Um, but yeah, so we'll go through each player individually as per usual. Starting with Pickford in goal, who again I just thought had his usual solid performance, a few very good saves here and there, especially in the second half when Roma really started to turn the screw. I think a bit after we made the substitutions, which definitely made us a lot more vulnerable defensively, I thought. Um, and kind of interfered with that shape that I mentioned before. We kind of went back to our old style a little bit there, I think, which clearly isn't as strong as what I think we're playing now at the moment. So yeah, that was a little bit of a concern, and obviously, as I say, made Pickford a bit more involved. But the goal was very well taken, a very accurate strike. I don't think anyone could realistically expect Pickford to do too much from that. Um, Again, his distribution wasn't the greatest. There was a few very nice passes here and there, but a lot of the time, as often, he sometimes does rushes things a little bit, and maybe our players aren't quite expecting a long pass when it comes. So yeah, that was a little bit frustrating, but still a very solid performance overall from Pickford. And he gets a 7 from me. Moving to the defence, Jake O'Brien. I think I mentioned it last week. Looks a lot better to me at right back, which isn't ideal for a player who's obviously more naturally a centre back. It seems to be, but definitely seems to have found his place in this team. I think, and I think there's been concerns about how much of a threat he offers going forward, but I thought yesterday was a lot better in that regard. I think he was pushing very high up and offering that outlet very effectively, and was still athletic enough to get back. Um, so yeah, that was pleasing. I was pleased with O'Brien's performance. To be fair, similarly against Manchester United, so he looks a lot more composed and confident out on the right hand side. So wouldn't be averse to getting a new right back, but I do think there's other positions that need to be prioritised ahead of that if it was me. So yeah, I'll give O'Brien a 7. And moving across the defence, Tarkowski had a bit of a quiet performance, I think, really. Like, maybe not as involved and on the ball as perhaps he usually is. That said, I remember a few good passes, and obviously, he offered. Our set pieces were a little more improved, I thought, on Saturday, particularly our corners, with Dewsbury-Hall taking them in. It was usually Tarkowski on the end of them, winning a few nice headers across goal and stuff. Um, which was pleasing to see. But yeah, a bit more of a quiet game from him than we're perhaps usually used to seeing, shall we say. So I'll give him a 6. And then Bramthwaite next, obviously, his first game back for a few weeks. Obviously, he wasn't in America for the tour, but does seem to have been very precautionary that because he came back into the side yesterday and looked absolutely fine to me. No signs of rustiness. Um, and yeah, I thought was actually a very pleasing performance from him. To be fair, I think similarly to Tarkowski, there were some very nice passes here and there. Obviously, didn't complete the full 90, which suggests to me that he maybe isn't as fully fit as he looks. But I'm sure will be more than fine to play the full game against Leeds and hopefully put in a performance of similar quality that we know he's used to producing. Yeah, a very good performance from Brentford yesterday. I'll give him a 7. Then Adam Asnew, as I mentioned, obviously wasn't expected to play as much as he did yesterday. I'm sure there's definitely still very raw. We all know that. I'd like to think most of our fans can be very patient with him, and if indeed it is the case that he has to start the first few games of the season with Mikalenko out, then I think we've got to be patient with him there and not expect him to be the finished article yet. Um, Offers a very good option going forward. I think he gets into the right positions. Um, it adds to that width, as I mentioned with Jake O'Brien, where we're a lot more spread out across the pitch. I think and able to create overloads and stuff. And it's just, as I say, I said O'Brien was very good at getting back when he needed to. Asney's not quite there yet. I don't think he quite has the awareness to be in the right position. And obviously, that is what caught us out for the goal in the end. So yeah, I say I'm not going to be overly critical of Asnew, but I'm sure he knows and too well that he's hopefully more capable of better performances than he put in yesterday. So I'll give him a 6 as well. Moving into the midfield, James Garner, another one who continues to divide opinion. I've mentioned it on here several times before. I saw a lot of people saying that they were really unimpressed with him yesterday and that his position needs to be replaced probably as a matter of priority. And while I agree, I would in a sense, in that I would really like another player in that position who's perhaps a little more natural at it and can offer a bit more defensively, I guess. And is more capable of just sitting there while everyone else ahead of him pushes on. I do think James Garner is actually very well suited to this role, to be honest, and has shown in the last few games that it does seem to be a position that suits him quite well. I think he's more capable out of anyone else we've got in the squad anyway, of playing there. And I thought he was more than solid yesterday. I think sitting deep, he's able to get a few long shots off. Remember, there was one that was very close to going in the second half. Um, and yeah, it just seems to suit his game a little bit more, doing more of the simple stuff. Laying simple passes off, winning tackles like further down, deeper down the pitch. Um, and not driving with it as much as usual. So, yeah, I'm content with Garner. I think I'd say, but I think the criticism he comes in for a lot of the time is usually pretty unwarranted, and I thought similar yesterday. Um, Someone who was very much not being criticised yesterday. Moving on was Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who I thought was superb in his first outing in an Everton shirt. I thought there were some very, very nice touches here and there. We got a few insights into what he's like driving with the ball, and yeah, that's exciting. And Walt is a sort of player we've lacked in the last few years. It opens up space for either to get the shot away or to lay off the pass to someone else running alongside him. So we all know just how important that is. And yeah, he showed yesterday alone that I think he's capable of a bit of everything really, dropping deep and spraying passes or getting further at the pitch and being in the right position to play the incisive through ball perhaps. Or as I say, driving with the ball himself and getting a shot away. So yeah, really encouraged by what I'm seeing so far from Dewsbury Hall. Absolutely, I'll give him a 7 for his performance yesterday. Idrissa Gueye next to him, just another consistent performer, of course. Dewsbury Hall's able to push on a bit more while Gay um, likes to win the tackles high at the pitch, but isn't like bombing it forward too much. But it just gets about the pitch so well. And with Garner sitting behind him, he's got a lot more license to do that as much as he likes, and it's such an important asset for us to have, I think. And yeah, was really impressed with him yesterday as ever. So I'll definitely give him a 7. We looked a lot weaker once he came on the pitch, as we saw quite a lot last season as well. So I think that's the biggest indication into just how important he is to this team. Moving into the attacking options, Charlie Alcaraz again. He hasn't had a pre-season to remember. Let's be honest. And as I've said, the you've got to still take into consideration the fact that he's out of position, not in his more comfortable central position. He's playing out on the right, obviously sits in a little bit as does Njai on the other side, and the two of them do almost kind of swap over a little bit. We're quite fluid in those positions, and I think the players we're looking at, just on the side note, the likes of Grealish and Dibbling will contribute to that. I have the feeling the three behind the striker will be very fluid for us this season. Dewsbury-Hall included in that as well, if he is starting. Um, but yeah, regardless, Charlie Arcaz, he struggled to get involved. He's given the ball away too much, and there's been a few, wayward long shots which haven't won't have struck confidence into Evertonian fans. Let's put it that way. So yeah, not a pre-season to remember, and not a game to remember for Alcaraz yesterday. I'll just give him a six. And then, as I say, I mentioned Njai there, who was a little more involved and played okay, but again, probably wasn't as involved as he would have liked. Sometimes he's at the front and centre of everything. I think we've seen that a few times in this pre-season alone. But yeah, I don't know if it was a case of him, being told to drift over into different positions, like I just mentioned with Alcaraz and with Dewsbury Hall, but it just didn't quite seem to be coming off for him yesterday. And that said, he still had quite a few good chances. So, like I say, he was still involved to an extent, but I still think it's very crucial that way we play next season, that Njai is involved as much as possible, and we didn't quite see that yesterday. So, um, no, by no means a disastrous performance. I'll still give him a six, but yeah, I think we all know there's more to come from Njai compared to what we saw yesterday. And then completing the starting lineup, Barry made his first start in an Everton shirt, and there was another one who seemed to divide a little bit of opinion from what I saw on social media. But for me, I was very, very impressed with him, and I think all these people have been saying that him and Beto are actually much more different than meets the eye. I think we got a really good indication to that yesterday. I thought the way Barry runs the channels and drifts wide and creates space for the players around him, and openings and attacking openings is really, really impressive, and is going to be very crucial for us this season. And obviously, that's just talking about him off the ball. On the ball, I thought there were some very nice touches. When he got the ball, he was able to drive it well most of the time, show good strength, good ability in the air at times. Showing he's a physical presence, both strength wise and pace wise. So yeah, I'm very, very impressed with Barry. And obviously, he wasn't given too many chances really to put a strike away, so we haven't quite got an indication into his finishing yet. But I think it's been talked about who's going to be starting the first game of the season. I think most of us probably assumed it was going to be Beto based on how many friendlies were starting, but I think based on that performance alone, I think Barry's earned the right to start the first game of the season. So yeah, hopefully he can produce a performance of similar ability, and even add a goal to it perhaps next Monday at Ellen Road. So yeah, that's seven from Barry. I think it's probably a toss up between him and Dewsbury Hall for my man of the match in the Roma friendly. And then just a very brief word on some of the subs. I thought Iwabunam again showed some nice touches, and I think he's more than capable of the backup. But I mentioned it earlier, we do seem a lot weaker as soon as he enters the pitch and Gay leaves it. So that is a tiny bit of a concern for me. And then Beto wasn't quite as involved as he probably would have liked to be. But as I say, Roma did have a lot more of the impetus once we made the first set of changes in the second half. And similar with the likes of McNeil and Schmidt, both not really staking a claim to be a starter for the season. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I think it's clear. I think the main takeaway from the game will probably still be that the depth needs to be worked on. We still need a few more quality options in positions to look up the table. I think this season. I think right where we're at the moment, we're probably about finishing where we did last season, give or take maybe a few points in a few positions perhaps. But with a few more quality additions, I do think the groundwork is there. I think the way we're playing now is exciting, and I think the profile players we're looking at will only make us better in that system. So I'm still feeling very positive about things, and there's still quite a few weeks of the transfer window left. So hopefully we can take this team on to the next level going into the season. But yeah, that is all from me. So please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment below, giving your thoughts and your ratings for each of the players that played yesterday, and also let us know what you thought of the Hill Dickinson Stadium. If indeed that was your first time, which it would have been for a lot of people, and obviously it was our first time, everyone's seeing it in a full house. And yeah, I know there's still a few concerns I'm seeing going around, but for me, it's still so exciting. And we obviously the atmosphere still wasn't amazing for a friendly, but I think we got into a glimpse of just how incredible this stadium could be going into the season. So I'm sure we're all now very much looking forward to that first home game against Brighton in a couple of weeks. So yeah, let's all just on that, leave it on that note. So yeah, and subscribe to the Toffee Blues channel for more Everton content, and we will see you in the next video. Up the Toffees.